Hi, my name is Ben Armstrong.
Hi, this is David Cox.
My name is Thomas Maurer.
Hi, I'm Donna Sarkar.
Hi, my name is Lana Montgomery.
Hi, I'm Seth Juarez.
Hi, I'm Oren Thomas.
I'm Jess Dodson.
Hi, I'm Rocky Heckman.
Hi, I'm Sonia Cuff.
Hi, I'm Troy Hunt.
Hello, this is Wally Mead.
My name is Reed Purvis.
Hi, I'm Lars Klint.
Hi, my name is Alan Birchall.
Hi, I'm Adam Fowler.
Hi, I'm Scott Guthrie, and you're listening to the Need to Know podcast.
All the latest Microsoft Cloud news, as well as industry guest deep dive conversations. It's a Need to Know podcast. All thanks to the CIA Ops patron community. The Need to Know podcast. Catch us on Twitter and Facebook, N2K Podcast, and online at ciaops.podbean.com.
Hello and welcome along to the Need to Know podcast. It is episode 293 and this is the last episode for 2022. So again, happening after Christmas here. All the best. Hope you've enjoyed your holidays with family and friends. Looking forward to the New Year's celebration. So a bit of news, a bit of updates, and some business thoughts for a change from me before the new year. So let us just move through the normal stuff here. So if you do want to contact me after the fact or at any stage, please use my email address, director@ciaops.com. You can also hit me up on YouTube. Have a look at my channel. The channel is @DirectorCIA, and my Twitter account again is DirectorCIA. So please follow me there and keep up to date with all the information that I do post regularly. Now, as mentioned before, I have set up a Mastodon account, which I suppose is an open source equivalent of Twitter. You'll find that at twit.social/DirectorCIA. I encourage you to follow me there as well if you want to potentially have another option besides Twitter out there. Always encourage people to join my shared channel. This is a free capability I've set up in Teams. Anybody can join. You'll find information in there, share ideas, share thoughts, share news about the Microsoft Cloud. Free to do, but there are some steps you'll need to take in your own tenant to make this happen. So again, the blog is there for you to follow along and set that up and let me know when that is done, and I will add you there. Don't forget the merch store. Got some t-shirts and so on, cups in there for you to take a look at, make a statement at the next conference you attend, and don't forget to become a CIOps patron to keep up to date with all the latest happening in the Microsoft Cloud. Be part of a community that is focused on getting the most out of the Microsoft Cloud there, so you'll find that at ciaopspatron.com. The last thing I'll bring to you before we continue on is my Microsoft 365 incident response training, which we held in January 2023 over the first couple of weeks there. So again, I will put the link in the show notes. You can go and have a look at that and sign up for that when you're ready. So again, letting you know that this is the last show for the year 2022. Thank you for all your support. Thanks for all the feedback. Looking forward to continuing this on in this format in the new year. So with that, why don't we talk about a little bit of news that has come across for Microsoft and generally out there. The first one I want to cover off is ChatGPT. So if you haven't seen that, go to chat.openai.com and you'll be able to sign up, create an account. Then you go into this ChatGPT. So this is the be-all and end-all. It's supposed to be an existential change to the universe and blah, blah, blah. So yes, it's impressive, but there are some limitations when you start, drilling into it. So again, you can just go in here to the chat interface and, type in something like, create a script to connect to Office 365. You type into that, and then it's going to use the AI to basically go in and create a script or give you a response here. So you'll see here that basically what it's doing is it's finding somewhere on the interwebs that someone has already connected to Office 365, and it's spitting out that script for me. So yes, it's impressive. I think again, very early days. It's going to show you the direction. I think certain industries are certainly going to be largely affected by this. It's showing, I suppose, paving the way forward, but it's not a here and now thing that is going to change the universe just because it's now appeared. But I think the signs are that this is certainly going to make a big difference in a lot of industries. If you haven't had a look, I'd encourage you to go and have a play with it, understand what it is, because I think we'll see it growing in its application. We're going to see it interfacing into more and more aspects of technology. Now, another one from Microsoft is the new Quick Assist experience. So this is Microsoft's remote help, I suppose, built into Windows 10. Now, again, this has been updated previously. It's being updated again. I would suggest the reason that all this is happening is largely because we're expecting to see Intune Premium come out in the new year, and that's going to have this basically built into it. You'll be able to right mouse click on a device in your list in Azure AD and connect to it directly. So if you haven't already, go and have a look at Quick Assist. If you want to help family members and they don't or can't install some of the things like TeamViewer, don't forget Quick Assist is built into Windows, and you can simply run that and then do a connection, share a code, and you're off to the races there. It's pretty good. I use this quite regularly with anybody who does want assistance on a PC, so certainly encourage you to look at that. But if you're looking forward to what's coming with Teams Premium, then I would suggest, with Intune Premium, then I would suggest you do spend a moment having a look at this, making sure your software is all up to date, ready for that aspect. Now, another reminder here from Microsoft that Windows 10 version 21H1 is reaching end of service. So Microsoft is pushing forward with its new releases, its new updates. We're up to 22H2 from memory. So it's going to deprecate all the old ones as soon as possible. So 21H1 is being deprecated. There's an article here that will show you, help you understand the upgrade options of what you need to do. Remember, we're talking about Windows 10 here, so you can move up to 22H2 with Windows 10, but as always, good security practice to always keep your environments up to date. So remember, 21H1 in Windows 10 is currently reaching end of service. Now, another cool little aspect here that Microsoft announced was you can now listen to your favorite tech community blog articles with Azure Speech Services. So when you go into a blog article or Microsoft tech community post here, in the top right hand corner you'll find little headphones there, and if you mouse over it you'll be able to listen to the article. So if we click that here, you'll see that it's powered by Azure.
Partnered with the Azure Speech Services team, part of Azure Cognitive Services.
All right, so you get the idea there. So you can then go in and read, I suppose, or listen to like an audio book or a podcast of any of these artists. Now I find that really handy because maybe I'm doing other things, I'm exercising, or taking a walk or whatever. I can listen to the articles rather than having to read them line by line. Reading them line by line, especially if there's a lot after Ignite or something like that, it becomes quite tiring. So listening to them, I think, works really well. So you'll find that in all the tech community blogs. Top right hand corner, look for the little earphones icon, and you'll be able to click on that and it will basically read the article to you. Now, a good article here from Microsoft on what they call the end user passwordless utopia. It runs through all the technologies that Microsoft use to make sure that you get single or seamless sign-on through the environment. Details all the capabilities, how to set these up, links to the important parts here, how to do it for enterprise as well, use conditional access and so on. I'd encourage you to go and have a look at this. What I see out in the field is a lot of people do use the basics like MFA, but they're not fully integrating the complete passwordless options that are available to users. Like I use Windows Hello for Business on my machine, so all I've got to do is basically look at them. They'll log me in securely to my environment using that for many years. I find that works really well with users too. They don't have to worry about MFA challenges and all that sort of stuff because they can have that basically recognize them on the device there. So go in, have a look at this article, read through it, see, and make sure that you are implementing all of those options to give the users the best experience. Now, another item that has become available in preview is Microsoft Teams Premium. Now, you can go and sign up to this, add it to your environment today. Now, Teams Premium is going to give you a number of additional capabilities. It is an add-on license, so it's going to give you, for me anyway, things like improved webinars, the ability to do a background, a green room, prior to the meeting. It's also going to have, meeting templates, as I mentioned, their custom branding. It's going to have, custom user policy packages, more features around webinars and virtual appointments and so on. So at the moment, you can certainly go in and sign up for that preview. So you can either go into the licensing area and add a product, but my advice to you is have a look at the article which we linked in the show notes. That'll give you all the details of what's involved and all the benefits of it. But The real direct URL that you want, if you scroll right to the bottom of this very, very long article that does provide all the details in there, get right to the bottom here, hopefully, you'll find that there is a link way down the bottom here that is the direct link to go into the licensing. So the direct link you'll find under the trial licenses FAQs area, and it's aka.ms/TPDLNK. All right, so if you do want to power up your tenant, put it in there, click on it, and that will give you a 30-day trial of Teams Premium. And do note that some of the features aren't yet fully available even in the trial, so some of the stuff I'm after is not yet available. Microsoft's promising it in early January, but easy enough to get in and start using it there. And when it does become available, Microsoft is saying GA probably in February, so you'll be ready to go. So if you do want Teams Premium, go in and sign up, add it to your tenant today. There's also a video here from Microsoft Mechanics that will step you through setting it up and the experiences that are there. Highly recommend that to you as well. Again, really good to get a visual representation, actually see the screens and the setup, because some of the policies can be a bit buried. So again, I'll put the link in the show notes so you can go and have a look at that. Now, another really handy item is this new work vertical in Windows Search. So in essence, this is the unified search Microsoft has been promising for quite a while now. So when you have an Azure AD joined machine like Windows 10 or Windows 11 and you do search on that device, what you should find is that there is now an option across the top called Work. So this is going to allow you to search not only the whole internet, but also your particular Microsoft 365 environment. Now, Microsoft 365 search is probably one of the most underrated features of the product. Many people don't take advantage of the fantastic search capabilities across all the information you do put up into that environment. And now we can get to it on the Windows 10, Windows 11 Azure AD device. So if you haven't had a look at this, go in, view what and the capabilities of search. I use it regularly to look up invoices, to find information, to look in to find emails, all that sort of stuff. So having it built into the desktop is super, super handy, and I think one of the killer features of Microsoft 365 that has now been integrated with the Windows environment. Now, the final bit of news here is about the deprecation of basic authentication in Exchange Online. I'll put the article in the show notes. You can go and have a look. It's just Microsoft again confirming what will be turned off. Hopefully, you're nobody out there still using basic authentication in their environments, but if you are, again, read this article to make sure you're up to date with what Microsoft's doing, how it's handling it, what the expectation is, and if you need to, how you can still maintain it, although it's certainly recommend against people doing that sort of thing if we could. So again, read this article. Basic authentication, deprecation, Exchange Online, time's up. Microsoft's finally getting around to turning all of this stuff off. So there's sort of the news and the articles for you to go and have a look at. So what I thought I'd do is just have a bit of a commentary here for a change, not on a technical item here. Now, if you want more technical news and you don't want to hear some businessy stuff, by all means, thank you very much for listening. Catch you in 2023. But the reason that I wanted to cover this off was because this time of the year was, I suppose, very influential to me on making a very important decision about my business and the career. Now, what I'm seeing out there in the market today with resellers, MSPs, technical people is that there is a hell of a lot of mental fatigue and burnout. A lot of people are reaching their limit. They're not happy in their business. They're struggling. There's not a lot of support out there. Now, the reason that I say this is because without doubt, I think 2023 is going to be a tough year. At least the first 6 months are going to be quite tough economically, so it's not going to get easier for a period of time. This means that many businesses are going to be focused on costs, and I've said for a long time that the old MSP model, which is largely a reseller model, has had its day. It is on the wane simply because it's focused on price and just adding a margin to a product, to a license or whatever. The real difference in a modern business, I would suggest, is if you're adding value to that license, adding value to that capability. So if you're just selling things like Microsoft 365 Business Premium and just adding a margin on top of that, which is very hard to do in this day and age, then technically you're a reseller. It's about what value do you add to the customer, what services do you have on top of that that are unique, that nobody else has in the market, that's going to stand you apart from everybody else. Now, the common mentality out there is, if you buy our tool or you follow our method or download our white paper or follow our checklist, then everything will be apples and you'll all be fantastic and you'll make billions and millions of dollars as MSP. I think those days are well and truly over. I think most MSPs are providing a very similar service. Once you provide a similar service, the customer can't see any differentiation and then chooses their option based on cost alone. And that's putting a lot of stress on people who haven't probably changed their business model in many, many years. And this is, I think, leading to this situation now where I've never seen, more burnout, more fatigue, more people wanting out of the industry than I've ever seen before. Now, at this point, I will say I'm not a health professional. I don't pretend to be one on the internet. It's just me sharing my thoughts and experiences in this very specific area. So a bit of a story from me is that many years ago when I was doing the MSP thing back in the days, probably 15, 16 so years ago now, there was a period during Christmas. So during Christmas and New Year, the break between is normally the time when we do migration. So we get a new server for a large customer, we bring it in, they'd all be out of the office, so we'd have full run of the office, we could do the migration, move the data, we wouldn't be interrupted, we could sort out all the problems. Now, I remember during this period I have very large migration to do, new server, I think number of new workstations, would have been 15 or 20 odd desktops to work through, update, printer drivers and so on. So I'd organised to go in, the day after Boxing Day, so the 27th of January, and to do this. Now, I'd organised with my business partner to do that. We got the server as ready beforehand, set it up, put it in the back of the car, but for whatever reason, he then was called away to another emergency, so it left basically me. So I had to, get this wonking huge server into an office inside the city, and luckily there wasn't too much traffic and so on, but still it's a struggle. I had to unlock the office, turn off the alarm, do all that sort of stuff, set up, and I was there by myself for probably 2 to 3 days solid, just working my backside off, updating the server, migrating data, moving stuff across, verifying, working around to every workstation, and it's a very lonely experience, and you're always behind the eight ball. There's always never enough time to do that. So I think even when I'd sort of finished doing my bit, I had to assist third-party providers who were coming in and updating their software on the server and the workstation. So it was a full period, until New Year's Eve that I had to do that. Now, once that was done, the idea is that when they came back in the office, I would have to be there as well to help them through, to solve any niggling problems, to resolve it so it all worked fine for them. And, we got paid for that, but, my mental health, I would suggest, suffered quite severely from that because I didn't have a break during that period. And this had gone on for a number of years. I've been doing a similar sort of thing. And this just accelerated the burnout that I was experiencing. Again, I tended to ignore it, think I could power through, and would look at it and say, well, I am getting some revenue for it, but the honesty was that it really wasn't worth or the cost of the time it was and the impact it was having on me. So what ended up happening in the long run was that I basically burnt out and decided that I didn't want to do that anymore and stepped away from the business. And I'm not saying that's an easy decision, I'm not saying it's a simple, I'm not saying that there weren't challenges after that, but I think that really made a huge difference. I'm pretty sure that if I continued on in that way, running that sort of traditional MSP approach, I certainly would have suffered mentally and physically. My health was already on the downtrend from there. So what I'd like to say is I know there are people out there who are suffering the same sort of burnout. I've been through it. You feel as though you've got no one you could speak to because no one understands your business, understands technology, understands the commitment. And a very similar thing for me. I had nobody in my family who ran their own business. I had no one who was technically minded. back then you weren't prepared to, sort of share and open up to other providers, even though they might have been willing to help. There was all that fear that they'd steal your customers or they'd see you as weak and then pounce on your revenue opportunities there. So I would encourage people who maybe feel that, who again may be reaching the end of their tether or are questioning whether this business is actually for them, just take a step back at the moment and reflect and say, look, is it going to improve? Is this really the direction I want? Am I happy? What impact is it having in other areas of my life? So they talk about the ability to juggle a certain amount of things. So let's say that the maximum amount of items you can juggle are, 5 things. So you've got, your family, you've got a number of other commitments, you've got your health, you've got your business and so on. Now, if you try and add more balls to that, it's not a case of just dropping one of them out to bring in the new ball. It's a case of once you overload the system and go beyond what you're capable of juggling, you drop the whole load. So everything suffers. So if you are feeling overworked, if you are feeling burnt out, then that is going to affect every other aspect of your life and potentially in a very negative way. So my decision was it just wasn't worth it. I couldn't see my future in that being happy. I was always, I suppose the best example I gave people, it felt as though every day when I got up, I was being ground down by a grinding stone. Every day I just felt this grinding, mental grinding that I really couldn't run away from. So the only way to escape that was to make a change, which I certainly did. And I would encourage anybody out there, if you feel that way or you're thinking in that direction or you're thinking about a change, now's the time maybe to reach out to someone, and I'm happy for anybody to contact me privately, confidentially, one-to-one, to speak about this off the record, because I know what you're going through. Happy to provide anything from just an ear to listen, a shoulder to lean on, to some advice, some perspective maybe. But if it's not me, do find someone else to talk to, get it out in the open. Now, the other, I suppose, item I would give you as a recommendation, if you don't want to do that, is create a journal. Just start writing stuff down. Now, I did that because I really didn't have anybody at the time. So what I did is I started writing stuff down in a journal, and it got a lot of it out of the system for me. I look back at the journal now and I laugh. The journal there is very dark, is very terminal. It's like, I'm not going to survive this. Things are really bad. And they really weren't. And I think getting down on paper does help to an extent. So that's another thing I'd encourage you to do. Just write, get the thoughts out of your head, because the more they sit in your brain and stew, the worse they become. The brain tends to take the most negative approach, rather than looking at the opportunities there and maybe the upsides, and that's where someone else can give you that perspective as well. So I certainly encourage people to make sure you are taking the downtime, you are taking a break, you are leading a normal life, you do have interests outside technology. I think a reason that a lot of IT providers are burning out is because that's all they do day in and day out. They don't have the stop valve they can call on, or they don't have another interest that they can absorb themselves in. And that was a takeaway that I learned, that I've now broadened my horizons, do have a number of hobbies outside IT that I do dive really deep into to give me that mental break. So the takeaway I've got for you is this time of year really brought home to me how important it was to get that break, to step away and to think about, is this something that I want to do for another 12 months? Can I provide the best opportunity for myself and for my customers? Is it something I really enjoy doing? Is it something that I wake up and sort of say, look, great, I enjoy the challenge, I really am keen to get at it. I think there's never been more opportunity in the technology world than there has been at the moment. But that said, if you are locked in an environment where you are competing on price, you're a commodity item, you haven't changed your business model in many, many years, then you've really got to begin to ask yourself, look, do I need a change? Do I need to walk away from this? Should I become an employee? Should I merge my business? Maybe the time now is to look at something different rather than getting trapped in something and potentially impacting my health and my other relationships. So as I mentioned, I'm happy to offer my ear here or shoulder for people to speak about confidentially. I understand it's very tough. Not everybody understands the situation it is. It can look very bleak. It can look, very daunting to make this change because it's worked for many years and perhaps it won't work anymore. What do we do? How do we do that? It's good to get a perspective from the outside. The demands on IT are simply going to keep increasing. More and more IT is becoming critical every single day. I'm sure there are people out there who are getting calls on Christmas Day and New Year's Day and during the holidays that it's certainly important to get this and this and this is broken. I only need this for 5 minutes. We all know, we've all been there now. Is that really something you want to get into? Because the traditional MSP environment is typically very reactive. You're sitting there waiting for someone to call with an earth-shattering, all 4 bells fire alarm that has to be fixed immediately. It's very hard to plan and organise, a life, a business around that, especially the smaller you are. So probably reaching out to those people who are running smaller businesses in the IT field. Have a think about it. Now's the time. Think about, okay, well, what's 2023 going to bring? It's going to be tougher economically. There's going to be more products coming out from Microsoft than others. Vendors are out there. Am I doing too much? Have I got too many options here? And I think the easiest solution I would give people, apart from what I've mentioned, is to simplify. It's like, yes, that's interesting, but I don't have the time. It's not profitable. So a decision for me was not to do on-prem SharePoint anymore, simply because there's very little market share and it requires too much knowledge to be across, SharePoint on-prem, AD, SQL, and so on. So I made that decision not to do on-prem SharePoint anymore. So maybe you've got to look and say, well, we shouldn't be selling this product, or maybe to consolidate these options here to make it easier. So again, don't just keep adding items on top. I think that's a recipe for, a faster burnout. So take some time during this break, step back, ask yourself that question, do I need a change? Is the technology and the business model I have working for me? Am I going to be able to continue with it in the next 12 months and down the track? Or do I need to make a modification? Do I need to stop doing some things and look at, picking up some other items here which have more opportunity and I can add value to it rather than trying to compete with others on price? So generally you become more successful by doing less and doing it better than the competition. I think there's lots and lots of opportunity out there to certainly achieve that. So hopefully that's given people a little bit of thought. As I said, not a health professional, but I do see lots and lots of burnout happening out there, and I think it's a very difficult thing for a lot of people to deal with the first time they've really got to make a big decision as to which way they want to go with their lives and their business. As I said, I'm happy to assist and be a shoulder for people to listen to. So if you do want to speak, by all means, please contact me on any of the mechanisms there. We can do it over Teams, we can do it over the phone, whatever. But getting it out of your system, I think, is the first step. As I mentioned, journaling is a good option, but there are plenty of other people that you can probably speak to as well. But really take a hard look at the business and say, look, yes, last year was a tough year economically. We're going to be just as tough. Am I going to be able to see it through? What's my mental condition? Where do I want this to go in the long run? So as always, thank you very much for listening. I will catch you all in 2023. I wish you all the best for the new year and a safe Christmas holiday and break. And remember that next year is going to be a big year, I think, again, for the Microsoft 365 environment. And I look forward to bringing you that here on the Need to Know podcast.
You have been listening to the Need to Know podcast from CIA Ops. For training on using technologies like SharePoint Online or Microsoft 365, visit www.ciaopsacademy.com. By purchasing from the selections available, you'll be directly supporting this podcast. To provide feedback on this episode, visit www.ciaops.com/contact.